In 1955, Grace Kelly stood on the Oscar stage, the most famous woman in the world. 43 million Americans watched her accept the award, because to John B. Kelly Sr., there was only one real achievement in his family, and it wasn't Grace. In 1920, John B. Kelly Sr. was at the height of his power, a self-made millionaire, son of Irish immigrants, and the best rower in America. He set his sights on the most prestigious prize in the sport, the Diamond Sculls at the Henley Royal Regatta, a race reserved for the so-called gentlemen of England. The Henley Committee sent their answer in careful words. The committee regrets that, as a bricklayer, you are not considered an amateur under the rules of the regatta, and therefore your entry for the Diamond Sculls is declined. The message landed with all the weight of a door slammed shut. To them, it didn't matter that Kelly had won 126 straight races, or that he'd built a fortune brick by brick. He worked with his hands. He wasn't their kind. The snub stung deeper than any loss on the water. Newspapers on both sides of the Atlantic picked up the story, some boiling it down to a single line: not a gentleman, because he was a bricklayer. Kelly didn't answer with words, he answered with gold. That summer in Antwerp, he won the Olympic single sculls, then, less than an hour later, teamed with his cousin, Paul Costello, to claim the double sculls. 4 years later, he and Costello repeated their victory in Paris, making Kelly the first 3-time Olympic rowing champion. In Philadelphia, he became a legend, but the wound never fully closed. The story goes that Kelly mailed his racing cap to King George V with a note: "Greetings from a bricklayer." Whether or not the telegram ever reached the palace, the phrase became a family legend, proof that no amount of medals could erase the sting of being told he wasn't good enough. For Kelly, Henley wasn't just a race lost, it was a challenge handed down to his son. From the moment John B. Kelly Jr. could hold an oar, his father set the course. In the Kelly house, rowing was more than a sport, it was a family mandate. By age 8, Kell was up before dawn, learning to match his father's powerful stroke on the Schuylkill River. Neighbours would later recall the boy's small frame, dwarfed by the boat, straining to keep pace with a man who saw every practice as a debt owed to history. The pressure was relentless. Kell's childhood was measured in miles rowed and races won. His father's disappointment at Henley had become a family legend, retold at every holiday table. The message was clear: victory on the Thames was not just a dream, but a duty. In 1946, Kell crossed the Atlantic for his first shot at the Diamond Sculls. He lost. The defeat stung, but it only hardened the resolve at home. The next year, at just 20, Kell returned to Henley. This time, he didn't just win, he dominated. He crossed the finish line 8 lengths ahead, erasing the old wound in a single stroke. Life magazine splashed the story across its pages. The son had conquered the race that barred his father. That summer, Kell was named America's top amateur athlete, receiving the James E. Sullivan Award. 2 years later, he won the Diamond Sculls again, cementing the Kelly name in British rowing history. But for Kell, every medal was weighed against his father's expectations. The triumphs were real, but so was the burden he carried, one man's unfinished business passed on to his son. Grace Kelly's sister once hid her in a closet, and nobody in the family noticed she was missing. In the Kelly household, noise and competition filled every room, but Grace moved quietly through it all. Born in November 1929, she was the third of 4 children, small and often breathless from asthma, a child who read stories instead of running races. Her siblings, Peggy and Lizanne, chased each other through the halls. Kell trained on the river before sunrise. Grace's own world was softer, made of books and daydreams, and too often silence. Family friends later recalled that she seemed like a guest in her own home, always watching from the edge. Her father, John, measured worth in trophies and times, not in lines spoken on a stage or poems scribbled in a notebook. Peggy was the golden girl, Kell the family's hope for redemption. Grace, as Vanity Fair would later write, was her father's least favourite. Even her younger sister, Lizanne, remembered hiding Grace in the closet as a prank and realising, hours later, that nobody had missed her. Invisible at home, Grace learned early how to disappear. But the ache of being overlooked would shape everything that followed. The hunger for applause, the longing to be seen, the quiet rebellion that would one day take her far from Philadelphia. When Grace Kelly announced she wanted to act, her father didn't mince words. He called the profession a slim cut above streetwalker. That line stuck, sharp, cold, impossible to forget. Grace's dream wasn't a secret. She wanted to follow her uncle, George Kelly, the Pulitzer-winning playwright, the only Kelly who had ever set foot on a Broadway stage. In the family, George was the black sheep, estranged for years, but to Grace, he was proof that a different life was possible. Her application to Bennington College arrived late, lost in the family's obsession with her brother's rowing. Rejection came, and with it, a new resolve. Grace gathered her modelling earnings and paid her own tuition to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Receipts in her careful handwriting showed every dollar scraped together. There was no family celebration, no proud father at her side. In interviews, John Kelly made it clear he thought acting was a waste, nothing compared to a son's victory on the river. Grace's defiance was quiet but absolute. She walked out the front door, past the trophies and the silence, determined to make herself seen in a world that had always looked right through her. Grace Kelly's face began to appear everywhere, on theatre marquees, in magazine spreads, and finally on the cover of Time in March 1955. That year alone, she starred in 5 major films, each one more acclaimed than the last. But even as Academy voters crowned her Best Actress for The Country Girl on March 30, 1955, and 43 million Americans watched her accept her Oscar, the applause from home was muted. Her father's verdict lingered. Acting was still, in his words, a slim cut above streetwalker. The world saw a golden girl, but inside the Kelly house, the old hierarchy held. When Prince Rainier of Monaco arrived to ask for Grace's hand, the Kellys faced a royal tradition, a dowry. The sum, $2 million, made headlines. John Kelly Sr. bristled, insisting, "My daughter doesn't have to pay any man to marry her." But the deal went forward, with Grace reportedly contributing from her own earnings. On April 19, 1956, 30 million people tuned in to watch her wedding, a spectacle described as the wedding of the century. Yet even as she became Princess of Monaco, the daughter who had conquered Hollywood and crossed into royalty still found herself measured against the family's old standards. For John Kelly Sr., trophies and titles on the river remained the true markers of achievement. Not even a crown could change the balance in his heart. Kell Kelly reached heights that once seemed unreachable, not just for himself, but for the family name. In 1956, he returned from Melbourne with an Olympic bronze in single sculls, a medal he gave to Grace as a wedding gift. 4 Olympic Games, a string of national titles, and the Sullivan Award for Top Amateur Athlete had all been added to the family's trophy shelf. Kell even took up civic life, winning a seat on Philadelphia's city council and aiming for the mayor's office. But the promise of redemption unraveled. In 1974, Philadelphia magazine detailed a scandal that would shadow his campaign. A relationship with Rachel Harlow, a transgender nightclub performer, became public. The city whispered, and his own mother reportedly worked behind the scenes to end his run. The son who was raised to avenge a family wound found himself undone by secrets and sabotage, his legacy tangled in the very expectations he was born to fulfill. Grace. Kelly's life ended on a winding Monaco road in September 1982. A stroke behind the wheel sent her car off an embankment. She died the next day, age 52. Nearly 100 million mourners watched her funeral, a global audience for a woman who once felt invisible at her own kitchen table. 3 years later, her brother Kell collapsed from a heart attack while jogging after his morning row. He was 57. His funeral was quieter, attended by family and a handful of rowing officials. Yet the world kept Grace's name alive. The American Film Institute ranks her among the greatest female stars, number 61 on their list. Hermes named its iconic bag for her. The Henley Regatta created the Princess Grace Challenge Cup. In Philadelphia, Kelly Drive honors the family, but for most, it's Grace who endures. Obituaries called Kell the brother of Princess Grace. The daughter, dismissed as a distraction, became immortal. The son who was supposed to redeem the family is now a footnote. Even now, millions remember Grace Kelly's face, but few recall the brother her father cherished most. Family wounds outlast fame, shaping generations in silence. For every invisible daughter watching, the lesson endures. Recognition at home may never come, but your worth is not defined by anyone's blindness. Thank you for watching.